And we're back on the Black Shoe Diaries YouTube channel. Thanks again, everyone, for joining. This time, I'm not joined by Tim. I'm not joined by Jared. I am joined by former BSD writer and BSD great Clay Suratig. Clay, thank you for joining me for today's very special episode, which I'll explain here in a second. But thank you for joining me tonight.
Me. I didn't know whether I would ever be back on the BSD podcast. You never know these days the way things are going. But Pat gave me the idea for this special episode, which he'll lay out for you guys here in a little bit, and I couldn't refuse. So happy to be back.
Yes. So as you guys see at the bottom, I have the Penn State Purge. For those of you who are familiar with the movie The Purge, this will make some sense. For those of you that haven't, I'll explain it. And I'll also give a heads up that I have blatantly stolen this from the Ringers Fantasy Football Show. They do this every offseason where they have one episode where they can just give off any take they want. So to explain The Purge, the movie, the basic concept is that there are 12 hours every single year that people, citizens of the United States, that they can commit any crime they want. Crime is free for those 12 hours. They can do whatever they want, right? Whether it's drugs, whether it's killing people, whatever crime, they have those 12 hours and they can do it. And there's no, right? They're not going to become criminals after, they're not going to get arrested for it. For those 12 hours, they can do whatever they want. Same idea with this, except we're not committing crimes. We're not killing people. We're simply just giving takes, maybe some predictions. Most of mine aren't so much predictions or just takes, but Clay does have a couple predictions that maybe we're a little bit afraid to say it during normal times of the year. Maybe we shy away from it. But for this episode, we can say, and there's no repercussions. So in the comment sections, you can't say that, Clay's a big dumb idiot. You can't say I'm a big dumb idiot. 3 months from now, when none of these are true, right? You can't call us dumb. And the same way we can't say, oh, no, told you so, right? For the next hour, we can say whatever we want. It's a safe circle. And it's going to be The Purge. So we're going to get started with one of Clay's takes because Clay and I have a similar take, and we're going to start very top line here. So we're going to kind of go, I'm not going to say all over the place, but this is mostly Penn State football focused. But of course, there's going to be some Penn State athletics and larger things that we'll talk about as well, and specifically this Penn State football season. But I think the first one that we have to start with, and before I get us started, let me give off the Purge sound alarm. Oh no. Very, very menacing, very threatening. Here comes our first take of the day, and it is a doozy. Clay says that losing to Oregon should objectively put James Franklin on the hot seat. Clay, take it away.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there is some health contingencies here, but for the sake of this episode, I do not care. Penn State has to beat Oregon this year at home. There's really, I mean, we look at marquee wins, and some people will point to Boise State last year and SMU last year. I'm not one of those people. I like James Franklin. If you're going to be a big boy program and anybody is ever going to treat you seriously, and you want the rest of the world to treat you seriously, you can't lose this game to Oregon. Who I don't care whether Oregon went on to be 15-0. You are getting Dante Moore in his first real adult start in a whiteout at night at home, which you've been understandably complaining about for a number of years to Fox Sports, that you need the night whiteout. You talk about how great the environment is, how you want fans to believe in you, how you're on your side, how you're a national title contender. You look at the two rosters and how they shake up. Like, you have to win this game, period. And like I say that as somebody who has defended James Franklin a number of times over the last couple of years, and I'm not sure the Penn State gets any better even if they fire James Franklin. But like, if you don't win this game, obviously, look, if you win out the rest of the year and win a national championship, I'll shut the hell up. But if you don't win this game, like, what are we doing here? Like, well, what are we trying to do here? Even if you think that James is a good coach, like, what is the point? These are the types of games that you are supposed to be building a program to win. You got to win that game. And it really shouldn't. I don't know that it should be super close.
Oregon loses a lot, and I think that's the thing. Oregon has recruited tremendously well. Dan Lanning has that program kind of at a point where, I almost would say like a similar to James Franklin, right? Where Penn State's basically set at even going back, other than the 2020 season and I guess the 2021 season a little bit as well. But right, ever since then, Penn State has basically been a 9 or 10 win team, if not more than 10 wins. And Oregon has kind of hit that point as well with how they're recruiting, how well Dan Lanning runs a program where they're never going to fall off, right? You're not going to have a 7-5 Oregon, or I don't even think like an 8-4 Oregon. But this is an Oregon team that is in kind of a rebuilding year. They had 10 draft picks, I believe, last year. And Clay, like you said, I mean, Dante Moore, first like real start. He had a couple starts at UCLA, but right, transferring to Oregon. He spent last year as the backup. This year he'll be coming in and playing. And that's his first true big boy, as you said, game that Penn State needs to win. My take on this, and sort of going off of this, right, like losing to Oregon should objectively put James Franklin on the hot seat. I think I basically, I don't want to say I agree with that, but I would be okay. And this is such like a negative way to get started on the show. But I do need to the siren. I would be fine if James Franklin leaves Penn State after this. It should say season, not off season. After this season. My take on this is basically this is it for Penn State and James Franklin. This is the best chance that they have at a national title, just as you were saying, right? This is kind of the season where everything has lined up, even to the point of you don't even have to beat Ohio State, or at least theoretically, you don't have to beat Ohio State. You can lose to Ohio State in November. You can lose to them again in the Big Ten Conference Championship. All right, maybe Ohio State, for whatever reason, gets the national championship, and Penn State loses 3 times to Ohio State in one season. Like, let's just fold everything. But my view on James Franklin is that he is a great, great, great coach. And I'm not saying that I want James Franklin to leave. That is not like the take here. It's not like I'm hoping that James Franklin leaves. It's more of just this is kind of it. Like, I think within reason, right? Like next season, the 2026 season is definitely going to be like a step back here, unless Penn State all of a sudden it just NIL wise just decides in the portal that they're going to go crazy. But I don't even think portal wise teams can necessarily really do that anymore. I think the 2027 season, you could argue that maybe that's like Penn State's next window. I don't think it's like the window necessarily completely shuts, but like living in the here and now, like this is it this season. So either James Franklin gets it done, or let's kind of like, I don't want to say like rebuild, but let's kind of start things over, because James is in he's been here since 2014. So his 11th season, his 12th season. I don't know exactly how that math works there, but the chances of a head coach winning a national championship after their like 5th season, let alone their 10th season, now going into their 11th or 12th season, is just so low.
I don't hate it. I think that's one of the things that when Penn State lost last year, I believe it was after the Ohio State loss, there was a lot of like, similar to what I said about Oregon, was like, look, if not now, like, what are we doing? And that was really my explanation, was like, you can believe that James Franklin's a good coach. Yes. James Franklin's a really good coach. And you can still be at the point of like, I need something different. Like if you have national title aspirations, which we will get into, then at some point you need to try something different and be not afraid to fall on your face. And I think that's sort of a lot of the argument you get is like, well, what if you're placing with somebody worse? And like, to that I say, then like, it happens. Like, like if your goal is to win a national title and you don't believe that James Franklin will win a national title, which again, you're not even saying here, but if that were the case, then like try something. Maybe shit goes belly up and you end up terrible like Nebraska. Like, and
I don't even have a coach that I'm like, oh, that is the guy, because
it's just something different.
Yeah. I think when everyone brings this up, and you were kind of saying like the Nebraska thing with like Bo Pelini, right? He goes 9-4, 9-4, 9-4. They fire him, and then all of a sudden
that's a worse program.
Yeah, and then they can't get back in. Nebraska it's just not an apples to apples comparison. The same way that Georgia isn't either, right? The same way that they had Mark Richt, but they had Kirby there, knowing that like by and large, Kirby was going to be an upgrade, right? Nick Saban, protege. Everyone knew that he was going to be a really, really tremendous head coach, and Georgia just pounced at the right time, and they knew that they had him being an alum. There's no one out there like that for Penn State, and this is certainly not going to be like where I'm going with this, like, conversation of Matt Rule or Kenny Dillingham or Brent Key or any Matt Campbell, right? Any of these guys.
No, it's just wanting to. You mentioned 11 years, 12 years. Like
Yeah.
At some point, it's like shit or get off the pot.
Even for James, and that's like kind of the way that I look at things. Of like James is in his mid 50s, I believe at this point. I think he's like 53 or 54. I don't think he's someone that plans to work deep into his 60s, and just the way that college football is going. I mean, it doesn't seem like James is exactly enthralled with the state of the game, and unless things really change, I don't think he's going to be around for like too much longer. Maybe he has 5 to 7 more years left, one more really big push. So I almost do wonder if even for James, if there's something that opens up that similar to what Brian Kelly happened at Notre Dame, where, hey, I'm going to go to LSU. It's just a completely different atmosphere, completely different scenario, and just try that out. So again, not saying I want James to leave. I just don't think it would be the end of the world. And kind of in this day and age, when a coach leaves, you kind of have to expect that half your roster is going to leave as well. And right this year, as opposed to last year, is certainly the better case scenario for that. And that's kind of why I don't want to go into the 2026 season and Penn State goes 9-3 and they squeak into the playoffs, but they're a younger team and they're able to bring everyone back. And then James says, yeah, now I'm going to leave. So that's just kind of my perspective. And hopefully he rides off with a national championship. But again, to be clear, not saying that I want James to go. I'm perfectly happy with him at Penn State. If the worst thing is that Penn State is going 10-2 and we lose to Ohio State every year, like we have it pretty good.
You touched on it a bit there. If Penn State wins the national championship, I'm assuming you were a little less fine if James Franklin leaves Penn State. Although it would be a very attractive job.
Yeah, I just don't think that becomes such like a more unrealistic scenario that he would leave off a national title. But it's more so I'm just stating like this isn't necessarily about like winning or losing necessarily.
Right. It is not an indictment on James Franklin one way or another.
Yes, it's he kind of I don't know. I just think that like he is what he is at this point, and if it doesn't happen this year, if it does happen this year, I don't know. I guess I'm kind of ready for something else, and that's both on the field and almost off the field as well, just like with the NIL landscape and stuff like that. Like, not to get into an NIL discussion because neither of us have NIL takes on this, but like, I think that James should have more of the blame when it comes to Penn State's lack of, or at least their reported lack of like NIL funding for football. Because at the end of the day, like that is part of the coach's job at this point is getting the millionaires that are donating to the stadium project and stuff like that to get them to donate to NIL as well, which takes us into our next one, which is also a Clay Purge take as well. Let's put off the siren. The stadium project is dumb and unnecessary. The stadium project being the renovations to Beaver Stadium. Clay, give us.
Here's the most basic way I can put this, but it's also like the really like I don't have complex, intelligent thoughts on this other than being like, what are we doing here? And let me say this expands to the larger capital project, but more specifically like Beaver Stadium. Why are we spending all of it? Like, okay, I understand the safety aspect of things that probably needed to be done. I understand that Penn State wants to make more money on club seats. I don't know that that's actually going to happen, which is part of why I think this is dumb and unnecessary. But also, like, okay, so walk with me here. You are, and this will roll over into a future take of mine. You are at a place where, like, you're probably as close to a national title as you've been in 30 years. 94, 95, 94?
Yeah, certainly 90s.
You are as close to a national title as you've been in 30 plus years. You are in a landscape where it is very clear that you can just go buy good players. That's just how it works. You spend a bunch of money and suddenly the good player shows up on your roster. Penn State did a little bit. what if you spent like $5 million of the $105 million a year spending on getting people to give you for a stadium on like an elite defensive end? Like I get that there is a little bit of complexity to that take. I don't particularly care to get into the complexity of that take.
Like the
Um,
complexity being right that it is seemingly easier, at least from the outside, it's seemingly easier to fundraise for, hey, Smith family, give us $5 million and you'll put your name on this whatever press box, this suite at Beaver Stadium, as opposed to saying, hey, Smith family, give us $5 million for this player, and you're basically just going to be like an unknown name.
right. Well, and like the way that I look at it as well is if you're doing this from a process standpoint, from an order standpoint, look, spending money on NIL doesn't guarantee shit. Penn State could have bought 4 more players and go 8-4 because sports. But if you go and spend that money and you happen to, I don't know, win a national championship, it is suddenly a lot easier to ask people for very, very large sums of money. The order of priorities here at a time where it is, at least in this like 3 to 5 year window before some either college sports completely collapse or we get a firm rule set from Congress, from a CBA, from whoever it be. Like now is the time where you go tell people to do all of the, I would say illegal shit, but nothing's illegal because there's nobody to govern anything. Now is the time where you just go buy the very good players and you win. And then maybe in like 2 or 3 years, you can be like, hey, guys, you see that shiny new trophy that we have and that number up on the wall that represents the year we won our national title? Like, spend money and people will do it because that's how this works. I don't understand what we're doing. Like, how much of this is necessary? Like, who cares? Like, how, are you really? If Penn State goes 11-1 this year or 12-0, God forbid, are you really going to be like, yeah, but like the urinals are kind of like,
So
who is this
this
person?
this is my take. Like, and I understand there are people, right? Pat Kraft is a smart man. Like, I do trust in what he's doing. Like, I don't think that he's an
I think this goes
incompetent.
above him. To be clear, I don't know. I don't know how much say I think Pat Graff has in saying, "Hey, we're not going to rebuild right now."
True, true. But I also don't think that, not to compare him to former athletic directors, but I don't think that he is simply just a, puppet with the puppeteers, just, having him do his dances. I do trust in what he's doing. And I certainly, right, there has to be some, economist out there who says why this is good for Penn State. But for me, what exactly, like, do you care about like a stadium atmosphere, like like college sports versus NFL? Like, I can almost understand that, like the idea of going to Jerry World or the idea of
Yeah, you just
going
want to be
to,
comfortable.
yeah, going to
Anytime I've been
sci-fi.
to an NFL game, I want to be comfortable.
Sure, I think college is like different in that I don't know, especially for like going back to Penn State. It's like you go back for like the pomp and circumstance. You go back for the the feeling that you get when you're back on campus to experience all the things that like you used to see when you were at campus. That includes Beaver Stadium. Like, I have always thought that like the outside of Beaver Stadium, like it just looks like an erector set. Like, I think that's cool. It looks menacing. And even the urinals and the seats and all these things that
Like
are quote unquote uncomfortable, like I think it's charming. Like, it's almost like Fenway in a way to me. And
a
but I
very
think that,
inside base. Yeah, sorry about that.
no, go ahead. I
A
was just
very
gonna
inside
say,
baseball one here is that like, I mean, Pat's been in the press box. I've been in the press box. Like
well, yeah.
the Beaver Stadium press box compared to some other press boxes was not the nicest thing in the world. And like when it got loud, you were genuinely concerned that it might fall. And like that's charming. I enjoyed not knowing whether I was going to live or die walking into that thing sometimes. Like,
Press box. Okay, that maybe could have used an upgrade, but like for myself, I'm not like yearning for like, ooh, I need a better experience at Penn State football games. You know what I
no,
want? I
win the
want Penn
fucking game.
State to win. Yes, on the field, win the game on the field. When I was sitting in 6-degree weather at the SMU game, I wasn't like, you know what would be nice right now? Heated seats. Okay, maybe I might have thought that, but right, I was happy that they were winning on the field. Like, and maybe I'm just like off on this, but even like the idea of in Dallas, in Philadelphia, in Los Angeles, in these major cities, when you build these massive arenas, these massive domes, like I know like the Eagles are starting to look at what can they do with the link because they want to start hosting more WrestleManias and they want to host concerts and all these different things, the Final Four. What is coming to State College? Like with Beaver Stadium, it's not like they're making it a dome anyway. So it's like, ooh, we're gonna upgrade the experience. We're gonna have more suites and this and that. It's like, okay, maybe you do a couple more country concerts during the summer. Maybe you
You're not
do.
going to SummerSlam 2040?
It's next Summer Slam at Beaver Stadium. I will be at. But right, like, what is going to really change about Beaver Stadium other than hosting Penn State football games?
It very
is
much feels like this is like, are we doing this because Terry Pagula wants to win a classic?
well,
Actually, it wouldn't even be Terry Pagula because it's not the Sabres. Like, are we doing this for the one-off Penn or Flyers Penguins game? Is this why this is getting done?
is it? But like, uh, that's cool, and maybe that's like part of it. But like, couldn't they have done stuff like that even without like these full renovation upgrades? Like, I don't know. And somebody smarter than us maybe would have to explain that. Like, I know like the winterization and stuff like that of like they had to do that for the playoff and whatnot. But it's not like State College is in this major area where it's like people are trying to get to State College so that they can have concerts and excuse me, and summer slams and all this different stuff. So that's basically where I'm at. Where I'm like, I don't know. I don't go to a Penn State game, and maybe it's just because I'm in my 30s. Maybe when I'm in my 50s or my 60s, I will feel differently. But yeah, it just seems $700 million is a lot of
money.
A lot of money to be spending at a time where so many other schools are focused on NIL and stuff like that. So let's jump around here and let's actually get a little positive. Just because we've been a little negative, right? We probably should have started with a little positivity. I feel like people are gonna be like, "What the hell?"
No, absolutely not. It is 2025, baby. We are mad all the time about everything.
And you have to remember, this is the purge. We're saying things that maybe we normally wouldn't want to say or discuss because we'd be afraid of people coming and yelling at us. But we're allowed to today. So, but still, not everything in the purge has to be full on negative and bad. Let's get some positivity going. Clay, I like the wide receivers this year. I'll be honest. Like
It might be good.
I don't care. I like the wide receivers. I'm a Kyron Hudson guy. I will go back and look at his stats, and I can't believe he only had like 37 receptions. And maybe it's just because
these are all spectacular.
Yeah, and he played well against Penn State, right? One of his touchdowns against AJ Harris, and
played well against LSU.
Yeah, he had the catch against LSU. Like maybe I'm just like highlight it. Like these highlights are just stuck in my head, and that's like all I'm like recognizing. But like I'm a Kyron Hudson believer. I think that he can be Mitchell Tinsley. I think he can have 55 receptions and 7 touchdowns and 700 yards. I think Trevor Pena is just like a flat out football player. Like, I don't care that he is no longer 6 foot and now he's only 5'10", and I don't care that he probably runs
closer to slot. He's supposed to be short.
Yeah, then a 4.3. Like, okay, he's not going to be playing in the air raid Syracuse offense that he was, but what have it like Penn State's issue wide receiver has not been like, oh, they have lacked athletes. Like, we've had plenty of athletes.
They're just bad at being wide receivers.
Yeah, we've had Malik Mega was here and had the body of the Greek god, 6'4", 210, ran like a 4.42, and yet, couldn't do anything at all. So I'm kind of all in on the wide receivers. I think that they are like good. I'm not saying that they're going to be Ohio State worthy, but I think they're going to be a top 5 unit in the Big Ten. And I do not think they're going to be a question.
I have some concerns about whether you need in today's game a legitimate number one, like a star number one. Maybe somebody becomes that. But I think I'm with you. I think one of the things that I really like about this wide receiver group is that presumably the starting 3 in Hudson, Ross, and Pena are wildly complementary in terms of the areas of the field they exploit, in terms of their play style, in terms of different levels of physicality. I think I'm really interested to see how they block in the run game. it's gonna be a big one. But look, if you get open, I can make some concessions.
I am so sick and
I have
tired of hearing about blocking our receiver after Julian Fleming and someone else who is still on the team that rhymes with Lifford. I don't care about blocking my receiver. Catch the ball and open.
They are hopefully never going to see the field because I am also the number one Kobe Howard believer and
Yes.
have been the number one Kobe Howard believer since before everyone else was the number one Kobe Howard believer. I was the number one Kobe Howard believer.
Do you think that James had to talk with Kobe about posting those? Like, have you seen like the practice highlights that have been kind of tweeted about that?
Him just lighting up? No, because he's going to go catch 80 balls as a true freshman. Like, why would James say anything? On a serious note, though, I imagine that has to be okayed. But I think that I really like the first three. I really like Kobe Hudson. I think that they all kind of bring different things. I'm also all aboard, and this is not the wide receiver group, but all aboard the Luke Reynolds breakout season. I don't see why he wouldn't have a really big year.
So I was not able to come up with a take on this, and I had sent you my list, and one of my takes was just Khalil Dinkins ? Luke Reynolds is a reason why I couldn't like fully go in on it because I do want to do like a Khalil Dinkins. Like that's been my thing this entire offseason with like.
Have you seen his touchdown to catch ratio?
Yeah,
I've been told, but I've been told by James Franklin that it is very good. So we are now riding the most important stat is clearly touchdown to reception ratio.
Hey, if he keeps it up, he will be a first round pick. But my entire thing this offseason has been, everyone's talking about Luke Reynolds, or at least national pundits. I just think that Khalil Dinkins is really good. I had wanted to come up with a take for this, being like, is he going to be a first team All Big Ten guy? Is he going to be someone that works his way into the first, second round?
Last year, senior year, Brenton Strange type of good. Senior year, Nick Bowers type of good.
Yeah, let's go with like a Brenton
Kyle
Strange
Carter.
Let's go.
I don't hate Kyle Carter. Okay.
Now I'm not able to like fully jump. It's still like it's a take I'm still working on. It's half baked. But that's because I like Luke Reynolds so much, and as you know, Clay, I'm also Andrew Appleyea is my guy as well. So I do love tight ends. I just want to say that. But anyway, continue on with your offensive takes.
No, just in general, I think that the group of skill position players they have is wildly complimentary, and also like run the ball for 275 yards a game, and life becomes a lot easier.
I hope so. I have two takes that sort of go off that. I'm going to go with the tight end one, though. So I wasn't able to come up with a Khalil Dinkins take, but I have a bigger picture tight end take. Or siren first.
Pat thinks that Tyler Warren sucked.
Penn State's tight end emphasis holds back their offense. Nothing annoyed me more last year than in the lead up to like any big game. Like I was very big on when Trey Wallace, the first game against West Virginia, I was like jumping in on Trey Wallace being like, okay, this guy, hey, he looks like he could be like a wide receiver one, and how important that was for the offense more than almost anything else. Like almost anything else that we didn't like necessarily know, right? We knew that Nick Singleton and Kaytron Allen were good. We knew they were going to be able to run the ball. I think most of us had confidence in Drew Aller being a good quarterback, but the questions for the team heading into the season was at wide receiver, similar to how it is this year. So when Trey Wallace breaks out, has a good game against West Virginia, and is like, man, if he can keep this up, that completely opens up everything else on this offense. That, of course, doesn't quite happen. Penn State loses to Ohio State. Trey Wallace had a couple of drops in that game. But even beyond that Ohio State game, so many times, right, someone would question Penn State's passing attack, and it was, oh, we have Nick Singleton and Kaytron Allen, and we have Tyler Warren and Luke Reynolds, and blah, blah, blah. And yet what happens, Clay, at the end, or during the entire Notre Dame game, but right at the end is you need wide receivers to throw to. You need wide receivers to throw to. The last thing that I want to hear is like these 3 tight end sets and these 2 tight end sets and blah, 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 blah. That is great and good. There's a reason why the very best teams, when you go back the last 10 years, the vast majority of them are running 3 wide receiver sets. Michigan 2 years ago, of course, they did their big man football, which is great, grand, and good, and hopefully Penn State can recreate that a little. But there is a reason why people would rather have three wide receivers than 2 tight ends. So
this is the first take I think so far that I am going to offer some pushback. Does Penn State have a tight end emphasis, or are the tight ends just good and the wide receivers are just terrible? Like, I don't know that is an active choice so much as it is a necessity. Like, I think if Penn State had Chris Godwin, Deshaun Hamilton, whoever, then suddenly Penn State's tight end emphasis is not as much as a tight end emphasis. I think it was more a necessity. Now we shall see. Maybe they come out this year and have great wide receivers. And I understand the sentiment that like it is hard to attract wide receivers if you are always throwing to the tight end. But again, like I don't think that they were not throwing to wide receivers because they didn't want to throw to wide receivers so much as it was just these guys suck. And that's been the case for at least 2 years, maybe 3. We can discuss. One of the takes that I considered was that keeping Marcus Higgins around is going to keep them winning that title this year. That is a take that I considered. I like the wide receiver group, so I didn't run with that one. But I think my pushback here would be, again, are they actively emphasizing the tight end because they think that's the best way to do it, or is it simply the best option to succeed with the roster they have had?
Valid point. And my rebuttal to that is, I guess, like
figure it out.
No, well, it's kind of like a chicken or the egg situation where, yes, of course, it's like it is a smart thing to do where it's, oh, we have more good tight ends than we have good wide receivers. Let's play those good tight ends more. But I do think it's something that can that is going to potentially hold you back. Like I almost think of it in like a basketball sense of, okay, we don't have a lot of good 3-point shooters on the team, so let's just go all in on getting to the rim. Like, okay, that's good, great, and grand, but you still need to be
you don't win that way.
Yeah, like
I think the fascinating thing for me is like pre-Marcus Higgins with Taylor, whose name I can't Stubblefield.
Yes.
The Caden Saunders, Anthony Ivy, Mekhi Flowers, and I forget who else recruiting class. Would that be 2022?
Yeah.
I believe I was pretty high on. I believe you were also pretty high on. So like it really hit a wall there, whether it's lack of development, lack of the evaluation for a staff that
his injuries.
For a staff that I genuinely believe is top 3 in terms of evaluation of high school prospects and development in the country, in terms of the rankings to production. Man, they can't produce a wide receiver to save a life. Literally last year, I mean, the inability to recruit a single wide receiver that can come in and either succeed right away or become something in 2 to 3 years is preposterous. You think you almost accidentally fall into somebody better than what they've had.
And well, that was like the annoying part was even through the beginning of Franklin's tenure where they signed Chris Godwin and not right away, but right even as a freshman, he wasn't a star, but you could see like, oh yeah, this guy is going to end up being a really good wide receiver. And you get KJ Hamler, who Penn State, looking back, was very lucky and blessed that he had some injury question marks coming out of high school. Otherwise, I don't know if he's a guy that comes to Penn State. He probably goes to Michigan or he ended up going to IMG, so he's down in Florida. Maybe he goes to like a Florida or Florida State. So they just seemingly always had one that was just ready to go after the other. Jahan Dotson, same thing, Parker Washington. And then it just didn't hit. That guy was supposed to be Keandre Lambert-Smith or Caden Saunders or whoever is supposed to be, and it just hasn't hit. But no, I understand the point of like, hey, Luke Reynolds and Khalil Dinkins are 2 of the better pass catchers on the team. We should play them together. I just think going into this season with what they have to open the year against, Nevada and Delaware, et cetera, that make an emphasis to do more 3 wide receiver threats to empower the receivers. Because yes, the wide receivers were not good last year. I think that is also potentially a case of putting them in the right situations as well. Like, it was very clear that Penn State hit a point last year where they were like, we're just going to game plan to get the ball to Tyler Warren during every single game.
Oh, they totally lost by like week 7 or 8. They were like, oh, these guys are just, it's not happening. Which, I mean, for better or worse, maybe things would have gone differently. Had they tried to force it more?
Like, is that like the smart thing? Like as fun as it was at the time, do we need to do like all the Tyler Warren gadget plays against Purdue when we were up by like 35 points? Like, hey, let's try to get the ball to Trey Wallace so that he can have a 7 reception game for 99 yards and 2 touchdowns, whatever.
Well, we saw that occasionally with like Tyseer Denmark at the end of that game, where it was like,
yep.
I think all of us at some point last year were like, oh, so like a live body that can get open and catch a ball. And now I really haven't heard much at all this offseason about Tyseer Denmark, which is not great feeling.
Wide receiver and we'll just, I feel like young players in general, like he's gonna, I think that he will get his opportunity, and hopefully he catches, out of the 4 passes they throw him, he catches all of them, because I does feel like James has a very quick trigger when it comes to, if you drop a pass, we just flat out like aren't going to play you anymore. Other than if you're like Trey Wallace. If you're in trying to start, that's one thing. But think back to like Malik McClain 2 years ago. Like, got a good start against West Virginia, right? 6'4", big guy, looked athletic, and then had some drops specifically against Illinois and Northwestern, and we basically didn't see the guy ever again. And even last year, like Anthony Ivey, like talking about that Purdue game, right? Just running wide open down the field and just bonk, but takes one like right off the head. Or maybe that was Denmark that took it off the head. But Ivey certainly had a very easy drop. So I don't know. We'll see. I just...
What you're saying is play Andrew Olesh at wide receiver.
What was that?
What you're saying is play Andrew Olesh at wide receiver, is what I'm hearing.
That's not even a take Purge, because that's just something that I fully believe 365 days a year. I to get like super deep into an Andrew Olesh take though, because I did think about this, and I was thinking about the tight ends. The idea that he's going to be stuck behind those 3 tight ends, and knock on wood that they all stay healthy. I do worry that Andrew Olesh, someone who grew up in a Penn State family, but clearly wasn't like always gung-ho on going to Penn State, given that he was committed to Michigan for a period of time. And one of his things was he did want to play early, and that was one of the factors originally why he didn't necessarily want to go to Penn State, because it is so hard to get onto the field. I don't love that they're just acting like, oh, let's not get this 6'5", 220, 225-pound athletic kid who is just natural catching the football and is
starting at the X.
Yeah, let's get him some snaps at the X. But that's not a take Purge, because I don't just need this podcast to say that. I will say that on any podcast, loudly and proudly. Play Andrew Olesh at wide receiver, you cowards. Let's take a quick break here. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Last time I checked, and by last time I mean I'm checking this very instant. Give me 3 seconds. We are at 203 subscribers.
That's not nearly enough.
Yeah, that's not
409, baby. Come on.
Yes, let's get to 409 subscribers by the beginning of the season. I have faith that you, the BSD community, can do that. And for those of you that aren't even in the BSD community, if you're just on YouTube and you just need some background noise as you work or as you work out or whatever it might be, subscribe to the YouTube channel. It really doesn't do anything for you. Yes, it'll let you know when you log on to YouTube. It'll alert you like, oh, hey, BSD just uploaded a new YouTube video. But other than that, it doesn't really change much for you, but it helps us a lot in growing this channel, helping SEO and stuff like that, and getting the videos out there to a larger audience.
Do you want to keep this handsome man employed?
Yes, please subscribe. Jarrett won't pay me if we don't get to 409 subscribers by the season, and then I will go hungry, because BSC is the only job I have. Shockingly, I live paycheck to paycheck off my BSC stipend. So please subscribe to the channel. So this is this is what I don't know where to fit. So we're gonna take a break with football. We're gonna go to basketball, and this is Clay's take. This is the lone non-football take that we have. Let's get the siren going.
Let's go, baby. Do not spend a single red cent on the men's basketball program. Man, this is a take that I've held for many years, because this program has been ass my entire life, and will probably always be that way. Nobody cares about Penn State basketball. I don't care about the 32 of you that say you do, because you live, we stink every year, and you get by. Um, it's a waste of money. It's a very, very expensive sport to continuously be at the bottom of the Big Ten. And I know that the thought is, well, if you spend the money, you won't be at the bottom of the Big Ten. But Penn State has recently spent some money, and you know where they are? At the bottom of the Big Ten. Also, I think that it is very possible to just like find a cheap coach who's good at basketball coaching. And then maybe like rather, I mean, I know with the portal, here's the thing, and we also don't have much NIL for basketball. So like, unless you're committing to spending even more money, all of the good players are just going to leave if they're really that good. It's just a waste. Give it to football, give it to hockey. Wrestling doesn't need it, but we'll take it. My honest opinion is that any dollar spent on men's basketball is significantly better spent on women's basketball, where even now there is much more upward mobility for the program and it is much more likely to retain in-state talent. Yeah, this is dumb. Why are we spending money on a basketball program that has been bad forever and is going to be bad forever? And you all just are like, okay, like that's fine. Like, nobody really cares. Nobody actually cares. It doesn't change your lives.
I have some questions for you. When Penn State basketball is good, right? The and few and far between, right? We can basically.
When you say good, you mean like skirts into the tournament?
Yes, like going back to the Shrewsbury season, the second
Okay.
Shrewsbury season, his last season before he was a coward and ran off to Indiana. Did you not enjoy that? Was that not fun?
It was neat. Like I had fun. Like it's not. I guess it is more an opportunity cost thing to me. Like I watched honestly like probably the second half of that season when it looked like they were going to be good, and the two tournament games were awesome. Like it'd be great if Penn State basketball were good. It's honestly this take more comes down to my lack of belief that spending the money they're going to spend is going to get them any sort of regularity in terms of success. I think it is a bad. I think the opportunity cost is much larger than the actual value provided.
That's fair, and I do think basketball is one of those sports where like I don't know, in college football, there's this idea of like, right, like Ole Miss last offseason. Like Ole Miss last offseason went all in. They were like, we have what we think can be a playoff, a national championship potential roster. So they decide that they're going to spend just a ton of money in the portal just to put Ole Miss over the top. Obviously, that didn't work. Yeah, obviously that didn't work. But right since then, not that Ole Miss is. It's not like Ole Miss isn't no longer spending money, but at least in this portal past offseason, they got Trey Wallace, they got a wide receiver from Oklahoma State, they got a couple guys, but by and large, they were not the Oregons or the USCs or the LSUs, right? Some of these teams that really went all in. Football kind of allows you to do that, where you can go all in one season and then kind of rebuild for a year or two and then decide, hey, we're going to go all in again. Basketball seemingly doesn't like allow you to do that because, man, it is crazy with like
you just form a new starting five every year.
Yeah, like it like people think that college football is crazy with how often guys leave, right? If there was a freshman running back at Louisiana Tech who rushes for 800 yards this year on 5.2 yards per carry, like you can almost guarantee that he's gone. Like basketball is like almost tenfold. Like if you're a 6'7" big man from Idaho and you average 7 points and 5 rebounds, like you're going somewhere else. Like it's almost impossible to truly build a program unless you are one of those like super elite ones, like a North Carolina or a Duke or wherever. And then even there, you have like the one and done guys. So I do understand on that of like what Penn State would have to spend to truly be competitive in the Big Ten, even a once out of 4 years. Like back before NIL, when Chambers was here, I think all of us who weren't super pro Chambers, it was like, guys, at the very least, we can do like be close to making the tournament, like be actually on the bubble. Like in 2016, I would have been absolutely freaking pumped if Penn State was on the bubble going into Selection Sunday and got left out. Like that is a victory for Penn State basketball. It would have been a victory for Penn State basketball. So I think we're still kind of there. It's just NIL has changed so much in that sort of being a realistic thing. Clearly, there's a reason why a lot of these big time programs have decided to go all in on basketball, though. And when I say big time programs, I mean specifically like in the SEC, like economically, there's a reason why the SEC, like Ole Miss and Mississippi State and Auburn and some of these teams that weren't like Georgia, that weren't genuinely basketball powers, have decided, hey, we need to be competitive in basketball as well. So there's something there, as far as basketball being really the only other sport that gets you TV deals and thus makes you money. But I mean, Penn State's right in the Big Ten anyway. Like they're making, as far as I know, they make the same that Ohio State or Michigan State or Illinois or Indiana or all these other big time basketball programs do. So perhaps you're right. I do like your take.
Jobbers get paid too. Penn State is just the college basketball version of a jobber. Ohio State's got to beat somebody.
I do like your take that women's basketball is maybe like an untapped, and I think like women's sports in general, but specifically.
Was a time where Penn State women's basketball
was good.
Was quite good. Not all that long ago. Kelly Mazzani Hive, stand up.
But I do like the idea of like, right, you look at the WNBA now with Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese and Paige Becker.
There's a lot of money there. There's a lot of money there, and there's a lot of upward mobility. And the recruiting base for women's basketball in central and western Pennsylvania is a lot better than the recruiting base for men's basketball, especially men's basketball players that are actually going to go to Penn State.
No, it does feel like that we're going to look back on 10 years and like this women's sports renaissance that I think that we're kind of starting to enter. I know, like, women's volleyball and women's soccer has kind of always been big at different schools for periods of time, and same with women's basketball. But it feels like on like a national level, specifically women's basketball, both professional and in colleges, is starting to get there. So yeah, let's see what happens with Caroline Krieger this year as they probably lose a lot of games again. But no takes on women's basketball. Let's jump back to football, and I'm looking at which one do I want to go with here. So we did wide receivers. All right, we're going to go with, this isn't really negative. It's just like a general theory idea that I have. Clay, I think they need to get rid of the black shoes. I think that Penn State should only be wearing white shoes. That's away. That's at home. It looks way cooler. This isn't 1973 with Joe Paterno saying, hey, we wear black cleats because it makes us look slower. Everyone knows how fast Penn State is. We don't need to fool anyone with film, how they look. The white shoes are just a flat out better look with certainly Penn State's away uniform, but their home uniform as well. I have some just general takes on Penn State's uniform too. Not to say that I keep the base uniforms the way they are. I do wish we had, an alternate uniform here or there rather than just the generations of greatness. But at the very least, let's get some white shoes going.
Yeah, I mean, look, the black and pink jerseys that everyone has talked about for 15 years now would probably sell okay and grab a recruiter too. People do like flash things. I wish I could say that I had like strong takes on black or white cleats. I don't. I get like a big part of the recruiting weekend is the photo shoot, and I mean, Oregon recruits definitely love 78 different combinations of uniforms. It's like, look, there's marginal gains to be had there. And look, I also like the white on white look. It would be very, very cool to be able to wear it at home for a whiteout one time. Like I don't know how you make it happen. It's not going to, but that would be sick. But yeah, like I could see the point. You would anger a lot of people. How many of those people would notice until it got pointed out?
Well, so that's like kind of my thing. Like, if they don't make like a big fuss about it, like, yeah, like maybe Armored State writes an article about it, be like, ooh, they wear white cleats and stuff like that. But that's why this was my take for it, because I'm not saying, oh, let's put the logo on the helmet or let's do blue pants and blue like a blue on blue type thing or anything.
If they were color uniform, I'm out. Like wrap it up for college football. Nice.
There's somewhere floating out there. Monte Aurorier said that he wanted a black Penn State uniform, and somebody, I think it was actually 11 Warriors, one of the 11 Warriors guys that like mocked it up. And I am kind of pro a black and blue Penn State uniform, but that's all besides the point. Just put the white shoes. If you play the college football game, you can toggle with that kind of stuff. And anytime I play with Penn State, I put on the white shoes, and shockingly, it looks much cooler. So let's do
Pat
that.
has won way more national championships than Penn State has in real life. So I mean,
Exactly.
look.
Exactly. All right. More takes as we're about to hit an hour. So our time is almost up. So I'm gonna have to fire a couple of these off. I gotta get my last takes in before time is up and they become crimes.
I've been saying this for 2 years, 3 years.
Clay is a deny Dennis son hater.
Like he was like the hater's not even the right word. Skeptic is the word that we will use.
I will say his play down the
In
stretch
the last
was much better, and that includes the Notre Dame game. Had 2 sacks in Notre Dame games, and it's not just like an SMU Boise thing.
Looked as athletic as he has his entire career.
Yeah. And I said DDS will struggle. I didn't necessarily mean to make this a prediction. It's more of just like are we sure that Denied Deson, right? Someone that has played basically his entire life his entire Penn State life with Chop Robinson, Adisa Isaac, or Abdul Corder on the other side of it. It's a little bit different when it's Jalen Harvey or it's Zariah Fisher. My ears are just up a little bit as far as like question marks on the defense, other than
I think there are people that are expecting him to be an Abdul Carter level game changer, and like that's just you're setting yourself up to be disappointed. I will say the end of last season, like you said, was very encouraging. Now, like having Abdul Carter on the other side really, really helps. But you still have to win your matchup, and I have heard from more than a handful of people, and I don't think this is really news, that like Tonight Dennis Sutton really until the end of last year wasn't healthy for any string of games over the last 2 years. That was kind of the narrative, was like, this is the first 2 months in a row during a season where this guy has been 100%. So that's exciting. You also kind of hope that can continue. That also makes you kind of wonder what's wrong. I would really like it if a former Pennsylvania recruit were not potentially heading to the penal system rather than playing for Penn State this year. That would make me a lot more optimistic about the way the season goes. But I don't know that I love the word struggle, but I do think that there are some expectations there that are probably a little higher than at least what Tonight Dennis Sutton has earned. Now, like, he doesn't have Abdul Carter. Conversely, I think Zane Durant is going to have a monstrous season.
I love Zane.
That will be my counterpoint here, and maybe that will free up Tonight Dennis Sutton. You put him. I mean, if you put them next to one another, like, where do you slide your line? But I can see the point of view.
Yeah, and like I said when I first did this I wrote it as a prediction when I'm not necessarily predicting this, and I should say like none of these are like necessarily like predictions for me. They're just kind of takes that I sort of thinking about. I'm like, that might be a problem, or that might be right with wide receiver. Like, I'm not going to go out there and say, oh, I think Trevor Pena and Kyron Hudson. I think Kyron Hudson's going to be a first team All Big Ten. I think Trevor Pena is going to be first team All Big Ten. But just generally speaking, I like where wide receivers head it. It's just when I look at the defense, other than the main questions that we have about the other DN, the other D tackle, just generally at linebacker, who at safety besides Sakee Wheatley, like besides those questions, I do look at Deny and wonder, is he the All-American that a lot of people think that he can be? Is he that level of player? Just because like with Zane Durant, like I am higher on Zane Durant than I think most people are. Like, I really think that he's someone that could have, push 15 tackles for loss, push maybe even 20 tackles for loss. Like, I think he's going to be a true game wrecker this year. And I do, if I had to bet on one of the two kind of not meeting expectations, I think it would be Denied. Just again, given what he's played at defensive end or who he's played with at defensive ends and who he's going to be playing with this year. It's a little bit different when you're the main guy. So once again, 6 more minutes, 5 more minutes, get some takes off. I got to get all my crime in now.
Nope, not having it.
Again, not a prediction, but just like a point
That's
out,
a prediction right there.
Penn State has not had a dumb loss since Illinois 2021. I mean, even if you want to say like Michigan State 2021, although I wouldn't have said that. I think really I think that would be the last dumb loss would be Illinois 2021. Certainly the 2021 season, the last time that Penn State lost a game that was like, what the hell is going on, guys? Again, not a prediction, but outside, I feel like so much of the talk this offseason has been about Ohio State and Oregon, and we're just all kind of saying, oh, Penn State will win the 10 other games. And I'm just, will they? Will they? Will they? I mean, they should. I'm not saying they should. They definitely should, but will they?
I think one of the reasons that I'm not buying this, other than like, I also just don't want to believe that could happen. And look, it's college football. Like that's the whole thing. Is that it's a bunch of young guys. They're dumb. I have a number of reasons actually. One, like James Franklin, for the most part, doesn't lose those games at a high rate. I would say relative to other big time programs.
That's why they're due.
I think the big thing for me though is one, it's not a bunch of young guys. It's a bunch of it's a really, really veteran team. Like real veteran team. And in theory, I think that insulates you. But bigger than that, I think the thing that insulates you from losses like that is if you're going to be better than other teams somewhere where you're just always going to have an edge, being better up front is real big. And it's hard to have too big of an off game when you have a dominant offensive line and a really, really good defensive line. If you know that you can go in there and run the ball, like it's one thing if you're like, oh, well, you can't run the ball all the time. We saw it against Ohio State. Well, like, that's not a dumb loss. I don't see. It's really, really hard for me to see a world where Penn State won't be able to run the ball against a team that's not a high-level team. So I think that insulates you. And again, you said it's not a prediction, but we'll see.
Conventional wisdom would agree with everything you're saying, and most likely reality will agree with what you're saying.
However,
I'm just simply saying weird things have happened. Weird things happen in sports, and right, Penn State probably shouldn't have beat USC last year. They probably shouldn't have beaten. Maybe they should have beaten Minnesota. The fact that that game was that close was really annoying. But still,
got one more take in you here. Our hour is fastly eclipsing.
Hold on, what'd you say?
Our hour is fastly.
Yes.
Fastly passing.
Yeah. I was just about to wrap up and just say anything could happen. We can have our next take and we can go over the hour mark as long as we give the take within the hour. So this will be the last one, and it is yours, Clay. So Mr. Positivity here. Speaking of predictions.
We're not winning national title, guys. Like, is this even like? This isn't even a hot take. This is like some of y'all need to just. It's in the same way that we are all going to die. Penn State's not winning the national title, and like that's fine. Like that doesn't that's true of most programs. Like we'll get over it. We will survive. Maybe college football won't, but like I don't know. Like I like to believe it because it's what being a fan is. And when the season's on, I will talk myself into believing it. But like like Patrick here is also a Sixers fan. He knew that Ben Simmons was always going to be a word that I don't know whether I can use on this podcast. He knew that Markelle Fultz was never going to figure out his shooting. Like you lie, you lie, and you see glimpses and you get excited, but like just like it's not happening.
What is your prediction? What do you actually think happens this year? And I guess that's the way that we can wrap up because even for
I think Penn State's a very good football team and loses in the semifinal, depending on the draw. I guess like a weird quarterfinal.
Yeah.
if they don't win, as much as I genuinely think they're going to win the Oregon game, like they don't win big games, and I don't know that the roster is actually better than what we're going to end up having, like 4 or 5 teams at the end of the season. Like I think that there's going to be teams that we're not talking about. Like right now, it's like, oh well, it's either Penn State, Ohio State, or Texas wins the national title, and like Alabama's going to be really, really good at football. Like Georgia's going to be really, really good at football. Some other SEC program is probably going to be really, really good at football. Like I don't know, maybe like you said in the 12th year or the 11th year of this coaching staff, that we just needed a little bit of this and a little bit of that. But like I'd say probably not.
Yeah, I think, and that's what I've just been reminding myself with like the preseason top 25s. Like the Penn State at number 1 takes, which coaches poll came out. Penn State was number 3, but it was basically them, Ohio State, Texas were the only ones that got. I think we're the only ones that got first place votes, or at least got the
Substantial first
majority.
place votes.
Yeah.
14, I believe, for Penn State.
But right, that isn't even so much like preseason top 25 is more about what do we know about you, not so much what could you potentially be, and that is kind of why Penn State, like people are pretty sure that Penn State's going to be like a top 6 team, right? People are pretty sure
It's
that Penn
really hard.
State's,
If they're healthy, it's really hard to see a world where they're bad.
Right, Penn State's probably going to make a playoff. You're not going to look stupid saying, "Oh, I think Penn State should be ranked number 1," even if they don't think that Penn State wins the national title. Because it's funny you mentioned Bama. Bama's kind of my team this year, where I'm like, I kind of think that last year just went off the rails, and it's a big difference from DeBoer to Saban. But I think Kellen DeBoer is a really, really good coach. Bama still has a ton of freaking talent. Their only real, I don't want to say their only real question mark, but right, the big question mark for them is quarterback. And if there's basically anyone in the country that I think can, make chicken salad out of chicken shit, it's at quarterback. It's Kellen DeBoer. And not even to say that, not even to say that Alabama's quarterback position is like that bad. Like I think the guy probably to win is Ty Simpson, who was a 5-star like in 2023. Like he's on a normal trajectory of like playing. So anyway, not to get deep into everything, but just as this offseason has been dwindling down, it's like I've come to this reckoning of like, what do I actually think Penn State is going to be, and trying to step back from what I said at the beginning of this podcast of like, this is the year. It has to be the year until it isn't the year, but it has to be the year, just given everything that Penn State has coming back. And can I step back from being, a Penn State fan and take off my blue and white glasses? And do I actually think Penn State is going to win the Big Ten, is going to the national championship? I don't know. I don't know to answer that. So I kind of lean with you.
Actually get the year. The year isn't an actual thing that happens.
Well, so that is your prediction. I don't agree with that one. I think that Penn State will eventually win in my lifetime.
Eat Arby's.
What'd you say?
Eat Arby's.
Eat Arby's. No, I have a lot of time left to live, Clay. I'm only 31. I have, I want to say 50 years. I like to think I make it to at least 80, ideally, hopefully. I mean, I think on average.
Exciting new marriage on the way?
Yeah, well, maybe. Yeah, potentially. I think Penn State can win a national title in the next 50 years, but you know what? That is future Pat's problem. So even if they don't, he'll have to reckon with that. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. For this year, I kind of am on your same wavelength of like, I would, if you gave me like over under semifinals being a push, I probably would go under, but I certainly
under being a quarterfinal.
Yeah, just given, like you said,
like the numbers are the numbers.
Yeah, and it's also tough to be like, oh, I think Penn State makes a semifinal when I have no idea what the draw is. Like last year, this time it was like, well, maybe, I don't know. And then once you see Penn State draw, it's like, oh yeah, they have to make the freaking semifinal. Like no ifs, ands, or buts. But I guess I'll think about that for another couple of weeks before I fully have to make my full prediction on Penn State football. Anyway, our purge time is over. We can't make any more predictions, any more takes without committing crimes. So, Clay, thank you very much for joining me tonight. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this podcast. I do like that we did literally 15 minutes on James Franklin should be put on the hot seat,
Exciting new take that none of you have heard before.
or we would be okay if James Franklin left. I'm sure that is the best way for us to have started to take Purge. But that is the reason for the Purge. We had our hour of fun. So Clay, thank you so much for joining. Any lasting thoughts for the folks?
No, just enjoy it. This is the best that Penn State has been for like a decade span in my lifetime, which I know isn't super long because that only covers three and a little 10-year spans. But like I said, I know that I was just a little downtrodden on the upside, but look, take the wins where you can get them.
Certainly. As always, guys, subscribe to the BSD YouTube channel. If you don't know where the BSD YouTube channel is, I have good news for you. You're on it literally right now. You're watching the video. You have to know where it is. So subscribe to the video or subscribe to the channel. Like the video if you can as well. Make sure you're reading our stuff at blacksheardiaries.com. We just got a new format on the website, by the way. So it was basically down the entire day, and the day being August 5th. This is coming out August 7th, but so it will be up because it's up now, but it will be up for those of you who are watching this video. So just go check out the new site. We got new formatting and layout and stuff like that. Should run much cleaner, less ads, which is always great. So make sure you're checking out blacksheardiaries.com for all our stuff, especially as we start to hit what is finally football season. So subscribe to the channel, check out blacksheardiaries.com. Clay, thank you as always. And we will be back next week. For Jared and myself, we will be talking about Penn State's top 10 players in the 2025 season.
Of course, that's me.